23 minutes past 7, the morning show. 54 degrees outside. Good to be with you this morning. Program 3299, and on Tuesdays at this time, our digital dynamic with App Innovators, Dustin Rivest. Dustin, how are you today, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty well.
We've talked about some things that can help businesses leverage the internet, leverage things online to help them. One of the things that I know a lot of people are trying to figure out is how do they leverage the internet? How do they leverage online opportunities for exposure purposes? How do you marry what's out there? How do you figure it all out?
That's definitely a big question. There's a lot of different avenues and a lot of different rabbit holes, I guess you could say you could go down, especially towards advertising.
Well, one of the things we've been talking about, as I've talked about App Innovators, is one of the realities is that a lot of people that have a website for their business, it's not optimized for mobile use. And you talk about the search rankings.
Yep.
And its impact. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the search rankings, it's a very, very big deal. We were dealing with a roofing company yesterday. They stopped by, and we were going and trying to find them on Google, and it was like third or fourth page on Google. And the stats show, I think it's 75% of the people don't even go past the second page. And so if you're not on the first page, or at least on the second page, you may as well not even have a website. And so obviously his site was not mobile responsive, so Google was kind of giving him some negative points on that. So came up with a couple different strategies to try to get him up towards the top.
There's, I think, a cynical view that some people take, and that is that the search engines, and let's just go ahead and call out Google, that they've rigged the system to make money for themselves, and so that if you're not, in essence, investing in their product line, you're just not going to show up in the rankings.
That might be partially true. I mean, I don't think Google really needs that much money from, a small dog. It's they care more about the user experience. That's one of the big reasons they actually changed their algorithm. 84% of people are actually looking at websites on a phone rather than on their actual desktop. So Google wants you to have a good experience, and if you don't have a good website for users to have a good experience on, they're going to penalize you for you and drop you down and promote somebody else that has a better experience.
In this day and age, do all search engines basically take into account where you are? So if you're searching for widgets in your town, it's going to pop up first and foremost widget companies in your town?
If you have your location services turned on, a lot of people don't have it turned on.
They're a little nervous about it, aren't they?
They're a little nervous about it. It's kind of big brotherish, especially when you go and look at where there's actually some settings where you can see where you've been, which is kind of creepy. But if you have your location services turned on, it definitely makes things easier. Let's just say you're looking for a repair guy. Truck broke down, or a tow truck company, or pizza. It's going to pop up and show you what's nearest you.
What's the best way for someone to kind of start down this road of understanding the best ways to market themselves in that reality? You and I traded a couple of emails last night. I'm like, well, we are kind of like one of the standard bearers of promotion and advertising. But even within our company, we have iHeartMedia, iHeartRadio.com. We're leveraging the digital era. We're leveraging our websites and so forth. What about an average business out there listening right now? They don't have the huge company that iHeart is behind them. What do they do?
They need to think about who their target audience is, and then think about where their target audience probably resides. For me, 100.7 WFLA made a ton of sense because you have a lot of business owners here. I probably wouldn't have advertised on, some of the other, radio stations that are just musically inclined. Now, but that's not to say I wouldn't have advertised on the actual, iHeartRadio.com in banner ads throughout those websites because people can get more of a sense of what we're doing and they can click on it.
So how does somebody determine what fits their personal, their business profile as it relates to online digital advertising?
I think it goes back to just thinking about who your consumers are, whether it's your past consumers or who you're trying to target in the future.
Do you ask them? Do you set up a little survey and start getting information on where do they go online? What do they look at and so forth?
The easiest thing to do is ask your clients, when they call you or you're trying to get a proposal out to somebody, hey, how'd you hear about us? Did you find us on Facebook? Did you hear us on Preston Sky? Did you just Google apps Tallahassee and find us? How did you find us? And listen to where people are searching, and then kind of put a little more attention to those areas that you see are getting more traction.
For the average business owner out there they're not out there. Maybe they've got a Facebook page, they've got a website, they've learned about optimizing it in the last few weeks and getting it a little more user-friendly on a mobile pad or phone or something. Where's the best way to start for them? Where do they begin? What's the first thing they should do?
First thing they should do is just, once we've talked about this before, get your website correct. And then there's a lot of good articles. If you just Google what should I do for my business, where should I start, there's a lot of different industry specific verticals that they can look at based on the articles.
Once they do that, is there, I mean, who do you call to find out what online venues are best for you based on, whatever information you get back? I mean, that's the thing I think a lot of people are trying to figure out is, when we first started talking about app innovators, it was, you and I talked privately, it was like, where do you go to get an app?
Exactly.
So where do you go to get going?
There's a lot of different, digital companies here, PR firms. It just depends on obviously your budget at the same time. We love talking to people. People can come by our office and sit down and talk to us. We have a bunch of different creative rooms, and we can just have a coffee session is what we call them. Sit down, talk about your needs, and see if we can help you. If not, we can steer you in the right direction.
Is it safe to say that if you want to be viable, you have to embrace the digital world today? You have no choice.
You have to. I mean, and it's a combination. We were going back and forth last night talking about, traditional marketing versus, digital marketing. It's not either or. It's a combination of both, and figuring out which mix, works the best.
Dustin, is always good stuff. Thanks so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you. Have a good week.
All right, Dustin Rivest, and again, the website appinnovators.com, and go there. You can find out all kinds of things that will help you. And again, just some advice on how to leverage the internet and online communications to your benefit. And we'll have Dustin back next week. It's 7:30. Time for news.